So what happened was he was telling my mama all that stuff. I said, yo mama, then he called my mama stupid. So we started squaring up, and so my teacher was saying that, we started squaring up.
Hey, Shalom, brothers. This is Brother Howard of GMS Toronto, coming back with another one. It reads, man reacts to getting blessed with a daughter. This is not a blessing. This is actually a curse, right? And it's a curse because this is learnt behavior. And this learnt behavior is going to transfer into the toxicness of the women that we have today. The same women that we're complaining about is the same women that we're raising. And the same thing goes for these women, right? The same men these women are complaining about is the same type of men that these women are raising. And it's not supposed to be like that, man. Right? The scriptures talks about gender roles, right? A woman is supposed to be raised in a particular type of way. A man is supposed to be raised in a particular type of way. A woman is supposed to know how to be a lady. A man is supposed to know how to be a man. This is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Likewise, ye husband, dwell with them according to knowledge. Who's the them? Your woman. Giving honor unto the wife, which is what the woman is going to be, right? So that young lady that we're seeing that is acting like a man, she's supposed to grow up to be a wife. Giving honor to the wife as unto the weaker vessel. Does that young lady look like a weaker vessel? Even though she's only a child right now, does she look like she's going to grow up to be anything weak? No. She's going to grow up and she's going to pretend to be strong. She's going to be very combative. She's going to push back against authority. Right? She's not going to respect gender roles. She's not going to respect her natural makeup, which is that of a feminine woman. She's going to do everything to pretend to be a masculine man, which is what she's doing now. That looks like a little boy. Just the way that that young woman is carrying herself, she looks like a little boy. She's not even dressed like a woman or a young lady, a young girl, right? She's dressed like a boy. She's talking like a boy. She's acting like a boy, right? It says, as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
We have to get up, and then I went out the principal office, and then he looking at me sideways like, I said, what you want to do? What you want to do? And then...
Did you hear? And he looking at me sideways, and I'm like, what you want to do? Right? So this is exactly what it's going to be like in her home if she grows up to be with a man. And that's if she grows up to be with a man, because a woman like this usually grows up to be with another woman. Right? Because she is pushing, or what is being pushed on this young child is masculinity. And that's going to be an identity disorder. And most of you women are suffering from identity disorder, especially you women that are butch, you women that are into women. You're suffering from an identity disorder. And that's what's happening to this young lady right now, because this is a young lady. She's supposed to be a young lady, but this is not ladylike behavior. She's not dressed like a young lady. She doesn't speak like a young lady. She's not carrying herself like a young lady. And this is what we're praising in this society. So this society praises backward actions. And then we wonder why we're getting the results that we're getting. Because these are the majority of the women that are in the world right now, in the Western world, I should say. And it's being pushed globally. This is the wickedness that's going forth throughout the earth right now. This type of mentality that a woman should be like this. Like this is cool. But then, if you put your hands on a woman, guess what's going to happen to you? Now you're going to jail. When this is what's being raised. They're being raised from their little to be combative with men. And then they're raising you young men to never put your hands on a woman. That's the confusion that's happening in the world. So when young men and young women grow up now, and then you have the young woman that's always pushing altercations on a young man that has been taught not to hit a woman, it makes no sense. Because it's like you're raising the young man to be orderly and you're raising the young woman to be disorderly. So it will never work. This is 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence, right? And this young woman is not being raised to understand these principles, because these are principles of life. We have these young men and young women growing up like they're going to grow up to have the same roles, and that's not true. That's not true at all. There's no such thing as equality. Equality does not exist in the world. There's no two things in the world that are equal, right? Everything is different. Men and women are not equal, and they never will be, no matter how much you push the two genders to be equal. Men were created for a purpose and women were created for a purpose, and both their purposes are beautiful. Both their purposes are righteousness in the eyes of the Heavenly Father, which is why he created them in the way that he did. He designed us in a perfect way for our roles. Okay? You can't have a pickup van or a school bus that goes around and picks up garbage. A garbage truck was designed perfectly to pick up garbage. A woman was designed perfectly to be a mother. This is simple, but we're complicating something, which is Luciferian within itself, because we're turning things upside down. We're perverting things that should not be perverted. And then what are we ultimately doing? We're going to cause chaos, right? We're going to cause chaos. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Where's the chaos? The chaos is in the home, right? Men and women can't get along anymore, which means that relationships don't work, right? Which means that the two people cannot be good parents. They don't know what to teach the child. It's going to be like a tug of war. The child won't know what its role is, because the mother doesn't know what her role is, and the father doesn't know what his role is. You young men are walking around with the baby strapped to your chest. Some of you have fake breasts to feed the child. That's not supposed to be like that, man. That's confusion to the child. That's a woman's job. Don't you know why the woman breastfeeds the child? Women breastfeed the child so her and the child can bond. As a man, you and the child are bonded. It's metaphysical for you. Women don't have a metaphysical connection to a child the way that a man has a metaphysical connection. Women have a hormonal connection to a child. And that hormonal connection happens during pregnancy. The women are bonded to their children because women are created to really be survivors. That hormonal bond that women have with men, and they get that hormonal bond by orgasms, and that hormonal bond that they get from childbirth, breastfeeding, right, is all hormonal. You men, your connection with children is metaphysical. It's deeper. It's stronger. It's a stronger bond. This is the word
metaphysical.
The word metaphysical derived from the Greek meta, ta, physica, after the things of nature, referring to an idea, doctrine, or posited reality. Posited reality outside of human sense and perception, right? Because the metaphysical bond that a father has with a child is outside of reality, because that child comes from you, right? So the bond that you as a father you have with that child is really because that child is you. That's a part of you. Right? You're able to see yourself within that child. You replicated yourself in a spiritual sense that became physical. It's deep. It's literally deep. You replicated the child. Right? The woman, you inseminate the woman, and the woman feeds the child. But you have to remember, there's a reason why women, when they first receive seed, they get morning sickness and they feel terrible, right? A lot of women, not all women, a lot of women feel terrible after receiving seed because a foreign host, has now inhabited her body, which changes her as well. Which is why when a woman has a child with a man, she becomes like that man as well. She changes. That's how strong you as a man, your seed is. The seed is not no joke, right? It changes. A woman can even gain your personality, start speaking like you speak, start talking like you talk, start acting like you act, because you just put DNA in her body that can reprogram her. And you have to understand, you are literally growing in her body. You're a foreign host, right? It sounds like a movie out of Aliens, but that's exactly what we're doing. You implant something within the woman that grows in her, but that thing that's growing in her is DNA. This is deep, man. This is widely referred to as the love hormone. Oxytocin is an indispensable part of childbirth and emotional mother-child bonding. Let's get that word, indispensable. Let's find that word. 1 second. This is the word.
Indispensable.
It means absolutely necessary. So a man's love is actually deeper than a mother's love. So everything that's being removed from this society when it comes to child rearing on the mother's part, and you fathers trying to bond with a child like a mother would, you have no understanding about the different sexes. The mother needs that. It's indispensable. Absolutely necessary, because that's hormonal love. That's why this society has disrupted the woman's hormones, and it's hard for a lot of women to bond with their children. A lot of women are unable to look at the child and connect on a deep level. It's really, really hard. That hormonal balance has to be there. So when that oxytocin is released from childbirth and breastfeeding, they just connect. They connect. That's why the child looks in the mother's eyes. They connect. You have to know how to connect with the woman. Right? Even in the scriptures, let her breast satisfy you. You can also connect to a woman by sucking on her titties, man. I know this is too deep for a lot of you guys, but this is what it needs to be. This is what these young women are going to grow up to be. They're going to grow up to be mothers. So they're either going to grow up to be good mothers, aka righteous mothers, or grow up to be bad mothers, aka wicked mothers, and they are going to create what? This is 2 Ezra chapter 5 verse 8, and it reads, there shall be confusion also in many places. And hey, isn't this what we preach? We're living in modern day Babylon. So if you're living in Babylon, there's going to be what? There's going to be confusion. Why? Because what does Babylon mean? Babylon goes back to the word Babel or Babel, which means confusion. Because when you're babbling, you're just speaking confusion. Okay? And that confusion is going to be in many places, right? This is a global confusion that's going on around. Nobody has the answers. The only people that have the answers are the men of the Lord, the prophets. The men that you see on the highways and the byways prophesying the coming of the Savior, that second coming. And they're also prophesying the second coming of destruction, which is known as the second death. Okay? And the fire shall be oft sent out again, and wild beasts shall change their place, right? And that's happening right now. Why? Because they're building all these homes, right? And they're taking over the animals' places. So wild beasts are now, you see wild beasts coming into the city. You see wild beasts going to places that they've never went to because they're changing their place because of this devil, man, Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder, you Edomites. You Edomites are a representation of Bob the Builder. You're going places and you're building in places where should never be built, man. Human beings, we're supposed to live with nature. We're not supposed to destroy nature. We're supposed to come together with nature. We're supposed to be one with nature. So when we do build, we're not supposed to build to disrupt the natural order of things. The natural order of things is how we're going to survive. That's why there's something called a land Sabbath. Right? So just like this earth is polluted, you women are polluted. Your minds have been polluted. Your bodies are polluted. Your spirit is polluted. So that's why these lessons have to be done, right? Trying to teach our young women how to properly conduct themselves. Okay? It says, and wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. And that's what's happening today. Because that young lady or the young lady that's on the screen is a monster. And if she's not a monster yet, she's going to grow up to be a monster.
And then he said, the principal took me to the office. And then I said, I don't want this stupid school anyway. I want to go to first grade anyway. And then,
so you heard how she's speaking to somebody of authority? So this young lady is already speaking down to a principal. To a principal. So when she grows up now and police shoot her or beat her, right, or assault her, or she ends up in a domestic violence case, this is going to all be because of her parents. She was raised this way. She was raised this way. This young lady was raised to be anti-woman, because this is not a woman. She's not going to grow up to be a woman, or female, anti-girl. And this is going to create the mental confusion that most of our women are suffering from today. And then you men wonder why these women are this way. And then you men are online going back and forth arguing with the women that you raised as well. So you men nowadays who are in your children's lives and your daughters' lives, you're not doing a better job than the women that you're complaining about either. Right? In this day and age, we can come to a conclusion and say young men that have been raised in single parent homes with just their mother are bitchy. And we can now say young women that are being raised by their father are masculine, and that's your fault as well. You can't just point the finger one way. You got to point the fingers both ways. A lot of you fathers are raising your daughters to be basketball players, rugby players, football players. All of this shit is off, man. This is all off. Because just like the women that are in the WNBA, the majority of them are what? Are lesbians. So they're not being raised to be counterparts of the man. They're being raised to be competitors of the man. And imagine that. Imagine a woman being raised to be a competitor of a man when that could never happen. No woman could ever compete with a man. That's why the WNBA cannot compete with the NBA. There's no competition. The only thing that you're creating is confusion. That's it. The only thing that gets created is confusion. This is 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 1. It says, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands. Right? So our young women, our young daughters have to be raised in this way where they understand that they are going to be the complement, not the competition to a man, and not just any man. We got to start raising our daughters to understand they are going to be this for an Israelite man. The young so-called Black, Latino, and Native American woman should grow up to understand that she's going to be with a so-called Black, Latin, or Native American man. If you want to, quote unquote, intermix or interbreed, that's what it should be. The young Israelite woman should not be with a Caucasian, an East Indian, right? An Arab, a Chinese, a Japanese, Hawaiian. Our women should not be with these type of men. The type of men that our women should be with should be Israelite men, right? And also of the diaspora. Right? You have Israelite men that have been scattered all throughout the four corners of the earth. If our young daughters find a man who isn't his forefathers, go back to a so-called Black, Latino, or Native American, then yes, she can be with him as well. Right? But hey, we got to wait for this society to be destroyed first anyway. But I just wanted to do a quick lesson. And with that, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto the elders and elder apostles of GMS that rule well and that teach well. And to you brothers on the four corners of the earth doing this work in truth and in sincerity. Shalom. Till next time. Kwame Asharala.